You've got this epic road trip planned with your riding buddies, really close friends. And at the last minute you come to know one of them is bringing along a really close relative who you've never met before. Now this can go a couple of ways. For instance, when Bajaj introduced us to their Austrian cousins, things just clicked. And now those Austrian cousins, KTM, are introducing us to their Swedish cousins, the Husqvarna 250s.
Slip slide in a lane even without the rain. One hand on the wheel, the other spilling champagne.
What? Husqvarna. The Husqvarna 250s. In specific, the Svartpilen, Black Arrow, the Vitpilen, the White Arrow. Yes, I know, it's not black and that's not white, but I only just met them. I'm not going to tell them right now. You can heap genuine praise on the Husqvarna when it comes to their design. This is where they really stand out. Neo-retro for sure, but so distinctive. These large panels, I mean, it's one large panel really, and the variety in terms of the surfaces, the depth and the line is just incredible. And the signature of this design is also enhanced by the headlamp, which gets that circular LED DRL treatment. And if you look at the smaller details, you get pinstriping on the wheels. There's a little bit etched in on the wheels as well with the Husqvarna logo. And yes, there are many instances of the logo and you really don't tire of looking at it, especially here on the tank cap, which is finished in this golden color, because that logo represents a gun sight. Pretty cool, huh? There are little naughty touches as well, like that colored window on the radiator shroud, which looks into nothing. And then there is the engine hanger and the foot peg hangers, which are forged pieces, not cast. Last but definitely not the least, the round theme from the headlamp is carried over even to the instrument cluster, and it has a white backlit, so it looks quite cool and elegant. But it's a fairly simple layout with a certain amount of information available, adequate. What I would have liked better here would have been backlighting, even for the rev counter bits. The numbers actually cannot be seen when you're riding in the dark. And I'm just asking, are the wild tangle of wires that you can see now a symbol of the wildness of these two motorcycles? No, they aren't, right? I thought so. I thought so. These wires were better hidden on the... oh boy. It's very important to know what not to say. So if you're hanging out with the Huskies, don't bring up the 250 Duke because they seem to share a lot. The engines, same. 250 cc's of displacement, the same horsepower, same torque, same revs. The front portion of the frame, same. It's got the same rake trail, the wheel base is the same, suspension components are the same, the wheel sizes are the same. So these and the KTM 250 Duke are genuinely closely related. Now, if you want the Huskies to warm up to you, talk to them about things that make them different. You like long legs, right? I can tell, I can totally tell. Like, look at the seat height. It's 842 millimeters, which is about 20 mm more than the 250 Duke, which means I'm on tiptoe. So stubby guys like me might want to take a moment to adjust here. And that aside, you can talk about the fuel tank, 9.5 liters. Yeah bro, who needs 13.4 liters for coffee runs, man? Yeah, totally. And then there's the subframe. The rear subframe is completely different to give it that short, stubby look. I totally get that Luna vibe you were going for, man. It's so cool. Wait, what? No, you weren't? Oh, that wasn't intentional. I'm so sorry. I'm totally sorry, man. Ignore that. Okay, that did not go as intended, so let's refocus. Sure, these two come from the same country, same family, but we shouldn't generalize. I'm sure they've got different tastes. Yes, I'm Indian. I don't eat chicken tikka masala. I'm vegetarian. The Svartpilen is inspired by an ancestor, the Husqvarna Silverpilen, one of the first motocrossers to get global renown. which is why it's wearing on-off-road tires. Yes, absolutely, I get it. You like dirt, you don't love it, right? And if you did, you would have more suspension travel than the Vitpilen. I get it, completely.
So despite the high seat height, ground clearance is a couple of less than the 250 Duke. And while that is the same for the Vitpilen, it suits the cafe racer just fine.
The Vitpilen, of course, loves tarmac, which is why it's got road bias tires. I get it, you love the tarmac. I can see it with those clip-on handlebars, the foot pegs that are pushed back and up, the racy seating position. I totally get that. Just don't ever mention to them that this feels like an RC to sit on and this, the Duke. There are other differences. The Svartpilen's off-road quotient is built up with its braced handlebar, a tank rack.
But there are no spoke wheels or serrated foot pegs. When you factor in that the hardware is identical to the cafe racer, the Svartpilen ends up lacking in promise and panache. Even when you look at the other differences between these two, that feeling won't change.
And other design differences that you'll see here include the alloy wheels. The texture for the fabric is also different. This is a bit more granular, this is smoother. And then there's the heat shield for the exhaust. The Svartpilen gets one. The minimalist cafe racer here doesn't.
Bar end mirrors though would have been sweet. Still, despite having less, the Vitpilen feels complete and wow. And when you ride them, realization dawns.
I don't know why I thought that these would be different to ride. They are familiar. Now, the good thing is the 250cc engine from the 250 Duke is a very nice, enjoyable engine, whether you want to travel calmly within the city or have a quick spin out on the highway. And that suits the Vitpilen especially well because the power increases in terms of its ferocity as the revs climb, and that suits this cafe racer just perfectly. You get the bump at 6, at 7,000, and you enjoy that when you're sitting on this motorcycle almost floating above the ground. And that's also because of the suspension, which, although firmer than what is offered on the Duke, actually soaks up bumps quite well, actually better than I would have expected when you're sitting on a motorcycle like this. So it is something that you could live with as long as your back could take that load. And in terms of practicality, if you think about it, this pillion seat might just be better than the one on the RC. So yeah, definitely some things to like and enjoy here on the Vitpilen. In terms of braking hardware, you have the same kind of bite and ferocity that you do on the KTM 250 Duke. And so this just feels like a very nice, fluid and enjoyable motorcycle without feeling as sharp as the RC, while having this cool styling and this shimmering silver underneath you.
Even on a wet day with BS6 compliant hardware, the Swedish arrows shot from 0 to 100 km an hour in what could be the fastest times for the 250cc class in the BS6 era. They also have a top speed of about 130 km per hour, so performance is still on point.
I walked into this meeting thinking that the Svartpilen would be the motorcycle I would naturally enjoy more because, well, the stance is upright, so it's more practical whether you're just riding around slowly, riding off-road, or, well, making U-turns. But this just doesn't seem to have that sparkle. The engine doesn't suit its nature. You need more grunt for a motorcycle like this. But while it suits the Vitpilen, here it seems to fall a bit short. And the other aspects where the Vitpilen manages to just pull through, they seem like glaring misses here on the Svartpilen, because this pillion seat for somebody who's intending to do touring will be inadequate, especially if you have a pillion. For luggage also it will be tight, and if you're planning to tour, this 9.5 litre tank is going to be insufficient.
Ride over bad roads with a scrambler attitude, and the jolts from the potholes will remind you that ground clearance isn't extra and that the suspension travel is the same as the Vitpilen.
That's also because you also get a little bit less travel at the rear because you have that number plate hanger attached to the swing arm, and that added weight is something that has to be controlled, and you'll see why. It's super sturdy.
So neither do the design elements or the mechanical bits create enough oomph to deliver on the scrambler promise. And they also leave the Svartpilen short of being a sensible pick.
The introduction to these Husqvarnas has left us with mixed emotions. First and foremost, because of the inevitable comparison to the 250 Duke, which makes for a more versatile, sensible package. Take the most simplest thing, the seat height, which will scare most of the Indian riders. But for India, Husqvarna has done something special. In other markets, these motorcycles are more expensive than the KTM, whereas in India it's about 23,000 rupees cheaper. That should help smooth out some of those concerns. And the pitch of these motorcycles is their style statement. But the real beauty of the motorcycle is the emotion that it gives rise to when you ride it. And when you weigh them up on that front, the Svartpilen starts to feel a little underwhelming. It could be the balance of what it is in terms of the design and the punch from the engine or the impracticality. The bottom line is, if you're looking for a Svartpilen, we'd say wait for the 401, that rowdy engine, to find its way here before choosing this. The Vitpilen, on the other hand, is something that has managed to get our attention. The combination of the aggressive seating position, that engine, the color, all of it comes together to make a motorcycle that makes you smile. And because of that, if you're looking for buddies to hang around with, this one does come into the list now.